138 Openings of Wisdom by the Ramchal, who is short for Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto of blessed memory, a sage, Kabbalist that lived in the 18th century in Italy. And this is one of his works called Kalach Pitchei Chochmah, which is 138 Openings of Wisdom. From what I understand, it's one of his most Kabbalistic works. Okay, opening 6. The Sephirot are what Ein Sof wanted to reveal of his attributes. Each Sephirah is one of the attributes of Ein Sof, blessed be He, with which He created the worlds and with which He governs them. Since He wanted that they should be known, He made each attribute appear as an individual light through seeing which one may understand that attribute. Which one sees movements of that light, one understands the influence of the corresponding attribute on the government of the worlds at that time. Having learned that the Sephirot are lights or radiations, we must now understand what these radiations are. This proposition has 2 parts. Part 1, each Sephirah is one of the attributes. This explains what is visible. Part 2, since He wanted that they should be known, this explains how that which is visible is perceived. Part 1, each Sephirah is one of the attributes. Each attribute, or midah, a measure, quality or trait, is one part of His will, namely, one of His powers. We may understand this by analogy. The body is composed of many different limbs, and someone who sees the body sees these limbs. On the other hand, the parts of the soul are not limbs but powers. These powers are the various faculties of the soul, such as memory, imagination, and feeling. Someone who sees them with spiritual vision sees a variety of different powers. Similarly, when one sees what is possible to see of the supreme will, what he sees are the powers of that will. Each Sephirah is one of the attributes. One, in the sense of being unique and separate. It is the revelation of His powers as separate attributes that distinguishes God's chosen way of acting through the Sephirot from His intrinsic omnipotence, in which He brings everything about through His unitary, all-encompassing power. For a given cause cannot give rise to any and every effect, but only to the particular effect that can arise from it. The reason is that the cause in question has only the particular power that it possesses, and can give only what it has. When a person carries out a variety of activities, we necessarily differentiate between the various powers that he possesses, which enable him to carry out these different activities. But God is all-powerful, and we therefore cannot ascribe to Him any specific limited power. This is because God's power is general and all-encompassing. God can do everything. For this reason, we cannot divide God's powers into a multiplicity of specific powers as He causes of His various works. Nevertheless, in His revealed way of acting through the Sephirot, Ein Sof chose to act in a way similar to the way in which a person acts, using a variety of different powers and abilities. This is what is meant by the statement of the rabbis that the world was created with 10 sayings. Yet surely it could have been created with only one. It's Avot 5:1. Asar Mamarot Nivra Olam. Accordingly, we differentiate a specific separate cause corresponding to every manifest word or action. Of the attributes of Ein Sof, blessed be He, this indicates that the Sephirah is not a mere derivative that is caused by outside of and secondary to Ein Sof. For His will is a single unity. In its intrinsic limitlessness, His will is invisible, and this is what we call Ein Sof. Those aspects of this will, that are revealed, we call the Sephirot. But the will itself is Ein Sof, limitless and indefinable. This is why we say that the Sephirot are the attributes of Ein Sof. One could object, surely we are saying that Ein Sof is the root, while the Sephirot derive from and are caused by Him. In which case, they are secondary to Him. If so, how can we say that the Sephirot are not derivative and secondary? To answer this, it is necessary to understand in what sense the Sephirot are derivative and what sense they are not. The Sephirot are not derivative in the sense of being a new, separate phenomenon that was caused by Ein Sof, but which did not exist in Him from the outset and does not exist in Him now, like separate bodies. For if that were the case, the Sephirot would indeed truly be merely secondary. But in fact, the Sephirot are parts of His totality, the parts that He reveals. I think we have passed 7 minutes. I don't want to shut it off like I did last time, so we started at 10:31, so 10:38, maybe I'll give it till 10:39. Okay. However, when we compare the different levels, we say that the actual root revealed in and through the Sephirot is none other than Ein Sof Himself. Even though intrinsically Ein Sof is not revealed, He leaves revealed to us what He wants. Accordingly, prior to the revelation of the Sephirot, they were subsumed under the name Ein Sof, just like all the other powers encompassed within His limitless will. However, when these attributes were revealed, they were no longer called Ein Sof, for now they have an end and a limit, as mentioned above. Accordingly, they are called Sephirot, from the Hebrew root Safar, meaning to count or number, indicating that they have a measure and a limit. I think that we've gotten to past 7 minutes, so now I can enter into the uncharted waters with which He created the worlds. So to be honest, I have to ask the question again, and as I ask it to you, I'm asking it to God as well, as He is here right now. We are all here. How do I make sense of when I read the New Testament and it talks about God creating the world through the Word, and the Word took on flesh, and the way Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto explains it is that the supreme unity and singleness of God without any parts. But when you see it in the light of the New Testament, the mind needs to be open to at least some parts of God, aspects, or some aspect of plurality. And this is a big tension that I encounter in the Jewish world in general, in prayer, and trying to relate to God. In the Jewish mind, there's one single center of consciousness with no parts. But in the Christian world, there's God, and within God, there's Jesus, and there's Mashiach, who is also God, but he's also has his own personality. And the Jewish mind cannot, to use the term, stomach that. So that's the really hard tension that I'm coming in contact with now in many areas. Number one, in prayer itself. When you say, Heavenly Father, holy is your name, where is Yeshua? Where is he? Is he the Father himself? That's not what Christianity says. He's separate. So if you ask a Christian, they'll say, he's standing at the right hand of the Father, and that's just not satisfying. For a mind, let's just say, as, I don't want to be self-deprecating, but as low as mine, to just imagine that it's like, it borders on mockery, because it's not what it is. You're making something that you're imagining a person next to a person, and it's no amount of imaginary stuff can picture what you're looking at. So it's a confusing issue in prayer. What does it mean that he's at the right hand of the Father? What does that mean? And where is he? Is he watching you pray to the Father, or is he within the Father and receiving your prayer? It's not revealed to me, and this is the source of confusion and hardship, and simply not wanting to talk to people about it. To be honest, I don't want to talk to people about it because it's not something that I can offer. Maybe it's not something that I should offer, but that's what I grapple with. I grapple with trying to. If Jesus said He is the truth, the way, the truth, and the life, then the truth shouldn't be this confusing. It shouldn't be. And if it is, then why is it? And why is it confusing? But then again, we also have words that would enforce the idea that it should be confusing. The words of Proverbs come to mind that say, is the glory of God to conceal a matter, and is the glory of kings to search it out? Kings could just mean people, or people that are becoming kings or having mastery over something. So God does conceal something, and He expects you to go on a journey to find it. So that's what my main grapple right now is during prayer time, and of course socially too. When you're around people, growing up in the Orthodox Jewish world, you learn of only one God, and then when the Messiah enters the picture, and Christianity presents Him as God together with the Father, then it's not anymore one God. It's you could say it's one God, but in terms of consciousness, there's more than one center of consciousness, unless you're willing to accept the Christian premise that there are three centers of consciousness within the one God, and that is the big grapple. So let's continue, because I could spend hours on this, but we have we have to finish this. In which He created the worlds. In other words, why should these attributes have revealed, not others? Because these revealed powers relate to lower realms, since it was through these powers that He created them and rules them. For even through the work of creation is complete. Even though the work of creation is complete, the supervision of the lights over their branches has not ceased, and the Sephirot continue to function as at first. Part 2, since He wanted that they should be known, this too was contingent upon His will. Although these powers existed within him, it was not intrinsically necessary that they should be able to be perceived and apprehended, except that he wanted it so. He made each attribute appear as an individual light. This means that a specific likeness was instituted for each attribute, such as the likeness of a lion for chesed, kindness, in order to make it possible to gain an understanding of the governmental power expressed in this attribute through the corresponding image or likeness, as we discuss later. Through seeing which one may understand that attribute. This is as stated by the Rambam, Maimonides, at the very time when the prophet sees the prophetic vision, its meaning is inscribed in his heart. That's in Yisodei HaTorah 7.3. This additional point is very necessary. If the Sephirot shined each in their own particular way because of their intrinsic essence, the prophets should certainly have been able to understand the meaning of what they saw. However, since each Sephirah shines in its unique way only because God willed it so, something else was necessary in order for the prophet to be able to understand what was symbolized in the prophetic image, namely, that its meaning should be inscribed in his heart when he saw it. Accordingly, together with his vision of the Sephirot, the prophet is provided with the key to the interpretation of the vision and can thus understand the meaning of these lights in all their detailed aspects. In this way, seeing the movements of that light enables one to understand the influence of the corresponding attribute on the government of the worlds at that time. For just as the government of the worlds shifts from kindness to justice or mercy according to the time, so movements are visible in the Sephirot according to the time. And when the prophet sees them, he understands what they mean. All of the various powers involved in the government of the worlds change according to the time. Not only may the overall government shift between kindness and judgment, I'm not sure what that means. Not only may the overall government shift between kindness and judgment. Okay. There are also changes in each of the individual attributes according to the time, and these are expressed in the movements of the lights. This is visible because of the desire of the supreme will to reveal to his creatures how he governs the world. World is 72 in English Gematria, and it's Chesed in Hebrew Gematria.